She smiles like a saint, warm, gentle, effortlessly convincing. She speaks in tones so soft they could lull even the most guarded soul into surrender. Her words wrap around your wounds like gauze dipped in honey, and for a while, you believe. You believe she cares about your struggles, your triumphs, your secrets. But if you listen closely, truly listen, there's a silence behind her kindness, a void, an absence of something essential. It is not kindness, it is calculation. Evil in its most insidious form never wears fangs or cloaks. It wears empathy like a costume. It mimics concern not to heal, but to infiltrate. She learns your triggers, your traumas, your rhythms. She is the emotional parasite cloaked in affection, the snake in the garden offering not poison but false sanctuary. Have you ever confided in someone only to later feel exposed? Like your soul was dissected under the guise of care? That is her art. She doesn't just want your story, she wants to own it. And once she does, she will recreate it, reshape it, retell it to suit her own narrative. Watch closely. Does her comfort always come with a subtle reminder of your dependence? Does she listen or does she collect? Because there is a difference. There are women who uplift, and there are those who study your cracks, not to help you seal them, but to find ways to split you further. Her apologies are perfect rehearsals. Her tears, strategic floods. And when you're at your lowest, broken, grieving, unraveling, she's there. Not to rescue you, but to watch, to taste your fall, to wear your suffering like a medal of manipulation. You see, evil rarely begins with cruelty. It begins with kindness, so refined, so precise, that it feels holy. But here's the question that unravels the mask. Does her compassion disappear when you no longer need her? Because if her kindness evaporates the moment you find your footing, then it was never kindness. It was a leash, a velvet rope around your neck, disguised as a warm embrace. True compassion empowers, false compassion enslaves. And an evil woman, a truly evil woman, will never come with claws. She will come with open arms, but in her hug, you are no longer free. You are owned. Only when you finally dare to say no, to walk away from her orbit, will you see the fury behind the smile, the real her, the creature that was always lurking beneath the silk. So beware the ones who are too perfect, too attentive, too devoted from the start. Sometimes the sweetest voice belongs to the hungriest wolf. It begins with little things. She teases your laugh, calls it loud. But in a cute way, she adds, she questions the books you read. Are you still into that phase? She frowns at your clothes, your ideas, your ambitions, but always with a smile, always with a laugh. Nothing seems serious. Nothing seems threatening. And yet, slowly, piece by piece, she pulls the architecture of your selfhood apart, until you no longer recognize the shape of who you were. The evil woman does not attack like a storm. She seeps in like humidity, silent, pervasive, invasive. Her game is not domination, it is erosion. She doesn't want to change you overnight. That would be too obvious. No, she wants to make you question yourself, to chip away at your sense of certainty until the only compass you trust is hers, until you find yourself asking her if you're being too sensitive, too emotional, too much. And when you seek reassurance, she gives it, just enough to keep you dependent, never enough to make you feel whole. Think back. Have you started shrinking around her? Do you speak less boldly, laugh more cautiously, second-guess your instincts in her presence? That is no accident. That is design. She thrives in the subtle art of sabotage, not by tearing down your walls, but by redecorating them until you forget what home used to feel like. She praises you just enough to make you crave her approval. And when you finally look in the mirror, you're not sure whether you see yourself or just a reflection shaped by her shadow. The most dangerous part? She's never wrong, or so it seems. She packages her criticism in concern. "I'm just trying to help. I want you to be your best self." But somehow her help always costs you something. Your joy, your spontaneity, your voice. This is how an evil woman operates. Not with daggers, but with whispers. Not by overt destruction, but by quietly rerouting the rivers of who you are until you're no longer flowing freely, but running in circles around her. Ask yourself, do you feel more alive, more you, more seen, or do you feel quietly diminished when she's around? That is your clue. Because true connection ignites expansion. Evil, masquerading as love, only induces contraction. She is not trying to love you. She is trying to remake you into something smaller, quieter, easier to manage. And one day, if you're not careful, you'll wake up and realize you've become a stranger to yourself, and the architect of your undoing is still smiling sweetly at the breakfast table, asking if you're okay. But by then, you may have forgotten what okay ever felt like. Have you ever noticed how some people bring storms wherever they go, but never seem to get wet? She enters your life like a spark in a cold room. Exciting, electric, impossible to ignore. She draws you in with stories that feel cinematic, drama, betrayal, passion, triumph. There's always something happening around her, and for a while, it's exhilarating. You feel swept into a world of high stakes and raw emotion, but then you start to notice the patterns. The ex-friends who turned toxic, the co-workers who got jealous, the past lovers who were obsessive, controlling, cruel, and somehow always she is the victim, the innocent, the misunderstood. Yet chaos follows her like a shadow at noon. Because she doesn't just live in chaos, she curates it. An evil woman is not content with peace. Peace is predictable, and predictability makes her irrelevant. She needs friction, tension, crisis. Because in crisis, she becomes the center, the fixer, the one with all the answers, or the one who suffers the most. And if no real drama exists, she'll manufacture it. She might start small, whispering things she knows will spark distrust between others, revealing half-truths just to see how far they ripple. A casual lie here, an exaggerated memory there. Then she watches the dominoes fall, not because she wants resolution, but because she wants to control the chaos. You'll find yourself involved in conflicts you didn't start, apologizing for things you didn't do, taking sides in wars you never agreed to fight, and just when you think you've untangled one knot, another one tightens. She thrives in confusion, because confusion weakens clarity, and clarity is the enemy of manipulation. Even your own feelings become suspect around her. You begin to question your perception, your memory. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it was my fault. That's exactly where she wants you, off balance, unsure, spinning. And the irony? If you ever confront her, if you dare suggest she might be the common denominator, she will flip the script so masterfully that you end up apologizing again. But look closely. How many bridges has she burned? How many relationships lie scorched in her wake? How many people have disappeared from her life, labeled as crazy or toxic or ungrateful? And what do all those people have in common? They walked away. The evil woman doesn't crave love. She craves control. And when she can no longer control a person, she destroys the connection, then rewrites the history to make herself the martyr. So ask yourself, do things get simpler with her or messier? Does life feel clearer or perpetually on edge? Because a woman who constantly dances in chaos is not a victim of the storm. She is its choreographer. And if you're not careful, you won't just be caught in her whirlwind. You'll be spun so fast that you forget where true north even is. At first, it feels like love, the kind that wraps itself around your life like a second skin, tight, warm, inescapable. She remembers every little detail, your favorite drink, your allergies, your dreams, the name of your childhood pet. She anticipates your needs before you even say them. You feel seen, wanted, protected. But then, the air starts to close in. She calls often, just to check in. She asks who you were with, just out of curiosity. She wants to know your schedule, so she can support you. Every gesture, every question, every intrusion is dipped in sweetness. But you feel it, don't you? The weight. Her love begins to feel like a trap with silk-lined bars. She frames her control as care, her obsession as affection. If you set a boundary, she acts wounded. If you pull away, she accuses you of abandonment. And if you try to explain, she twists your words like a blade in your chest. Evil women don't always control with violence or volume. Some do it with intensity, with devotion, so consuming it makes you question your right to privacy, to distance, to your own autonomy. You'll hear things like, "I just care so much. Why don't you trust me? Everything I do is for you." But in truth, everything she does is for control. She'll isolate you without isolating you, not through demands, but through manipulation. She might not forbid you from seeing certain people, but she'll make you feel guilty when you do. She'll plant doubts. Do they really care about you the way I do? They don't understand you like I do. And little by little, your world shrinks. You stop reaching out to friends. You second-guess every interaction. You monitor your words, your tone, your movements, because you know how easily she'll misinterpret or weaponize them. And worst of all, she'll convince you that it's your idea, that you're the one choosing to change, to stay close, to comply. But here's the paradox. The moment you truly need space, emotional, mental, or physical, she becomes ice, distant, withdrawn. Her devotion dries up like a stream turned off at the source, because her love was never about you. It was about owning you. Ask yourself, does she celebrate your independence or quietly punish it? Does she uplift your self-worth or make herself the center of your universe? Because the evil woman cloaked in devotion doesn't want a partner. She wants a possession, one that breathes when she says breathe and apologizes even when it bleeds. She will praise your strengths until they threaten her control. She will worship your uniqueness until it pulls you out of her orbit. And if you ever break free, she will not chase you in rage. No, she will reframe the narrative. Tell others you were too damaged to love, that she tried everything, that you pushed her away. But deep inside, you'll remember what it felt like to be slowly consumed by someone who called it love. And you'll know, it was never love. It was dominion. You begin to carry a weight that you can't quite explain. It's not hers, yet it's always about her. The way she sighs when you speak your truth, the way she flinches at your laughter when it doesn't include her, the way her silence hangs like a noose every time you choose yourself over her. She doesn't scream, she doesn't threaten, she implies, and with each implication, your soul sinks deeper into an invisible ocean of shame. An evil woman doesn't destroy your world with daggers, she does it with guilt. She makes you feel bad and for things you never did wrong. She blurs the line between self-care and selfishness, between honesty and cruelty, between loyalty and sacrifice. And somehow, no matter how much you give, it's never enough. She'll say things like, "After all I've done for you, I guess I just don't matter to you anymore. I would never do that to you." But these words are not confessions, they're cages. She wants your guilt because your guilt is currency. The more you feel responsible for her pain, the more power she has over your decisions. You'll change plans for her, lie for her, stay silent when you know you should speak. You'll bend and bend and bend until you are no longer yourself, but a version molded by remorse. And worst of all, you'll believe it's your fault. Because she's a master of emotional manipulation. She'll cry without tears, suffer without scars. Her wounds are invisible, but you'll feel them as if they were yours. And just when you think you've reclaimed your ground, She'll remind you of a time you let her down, a moment you weren't there, a word you said that cut too deep. Guilt becomes her instrument, and she plays it with precision. Even your triumphs become tainted. If you succeed, she'll imply you've abandoned her. If you celebrate, she'll question why you didn't include her. If you grow, she'll mourn that you're leaving her behind. There's no way to win, only ways to atone. But for what? That is the question that must shatter the illusion. What have you actually done? Because evil doesn't need a reason. It needs a story. And guilt is the ink with which she writes it. You begin to feel tired, not just physically, but spiritually. You start apologizing for things before they happen. You over-explain. You anticipate her moods, fearing what your peace might cost her next. You start to doubt yourself, because guilt, once planted deep enough, doesn't just shape your behavior, it rewrites your identity. But guilt is only noble when it's earned. And if you find yourself constantly carrying her suffering like a cross on your back, ask, is it pain she's truly feeling, or power she's feeding from? Because some people don't want healing. They want leverage. And an evil woman, especially the kind who wears sadness like a crown, knows that guilt is the chain that doesn't rattle. It tightens quietly, until you can no longer breathe without asking permission. She doesn't just want to be admired, she wants to be reflected in your eyes, in your words, in your world. At first, it's subtle. She picks up your phrases, mimics your beliefs, aligns herself with your values. You think, finally, someone who understands me. But this is not resonance. It is mirroring, a precise performance of identity. Because she doesn't want to be herself. She wants to become what you love until you forget what love even means. An evil woman of this kind is not authentic. She is adaptive. She studies you deeply, hungrily. Not because she cares, but because knowing you gives her the blueprint to control you. She learns what breaks you, what drives you, what makes you feel alive. Then she mirrors it back with expert precision, like a siren tuning herself to your soul's frequency. But something strange happens over time. Your own opinions start to shift, but not from growth, from distortion. What once felt like a partnership begins to feel like a hall of mirrors. You see versions of yourself through her, but they're warped. She takes your fears and exaggerates them. Your insecurities become truths when she confirms them. Always subtly, always with that perfect expression of concern. I noticed how you always second-guess yourself. You really should work on that. People don't always see you the way you think they do. I'm just being honest, because no one else will be. But what she's doing is planting doubt, systematically, so that your inner voice begins to sound like hers. And when you push back, just once, just slightly, she shifts, like a shadow in water. Suddenly she's the victim, the misunderstood one, the only one who ever matched you, who tried. She'll say, "You've changed," or worse, "You're not who I thought you were." But she never saw you. She saw a character, a role to cast, a mirror to polish until it only reflected her version of you. And if you fall for the illusion, if you give her the keys to your perception, you begin to dissolve. You second-guess your dreams. You question your memories. You edit your personality. You doubt your decisions. Because everything starts to feel like a performance under her gaze. That's her power. Not just manipulation, but identity theft on a spiritual level. She never wanted to know you. She wanted to own you by becoming the only voice in your head, the only compass you follow. So ask yourself this: when you're around her, do you feel like yourself, or do you feel like you're acting? Because real love sharpens identity. False love erases it. And evil, true evil, doesn't kill you with fire. It slowly erases you with reflection until there is no you left, only her projection. And when she's done, when the mirror cracks, she simply finds another soul to reflect, leaving you behind, not broken, but hollowed. She doesn't attack your strength. She seduces your weakness, not in the way that tempts your body, but in the way that whispers to the parts of your soul you've buried, the anger you were taught to hide, the envy you pretend you never feel, the hunger for power, control, validation, the parts of yourself you deny. She sees them, and worse, she welcomes them. Because the evil woman doesn't just want to be loved. She wants to make you love your own darkness, as long as it serves her. She'll say what no one else dares to say. You should be more selfish. You've sacrificed too much. They don't deserve your kindness. Why do you let people walk all over you? At first, it feels like liberation. Finally, someone who understands, someone who gives you permission to be angry, to feel superior, to indulge the bitterness you've tried so hard to suppress. But make no mistake, she is not healing your shadow. She is weaponizing it. She doesn't need to destroy your conscience. She just needs to tilt it, just a little, just enough for you to justify the lies, the betrayal, the small cruelties that grow, one seed at a time, until one day you no longer recognize the person staring back at you. And by then, she'll be gone. Or worse, she'll still be there, smiling, watching you rot from the inside, knowing full well she never had to lay a finger on your destruction. This is her genius. She doesn't conquer by force. She corrupts by invitation. She'll stroke your pride until it blinds you, feed your pain until it owns you. She'll hold up your shadow like a crown and say, "This is who you were meant to be." Not because she believes it, but because the more you betray your own moral compass, the more bound you are to her. Why? Because now you have something to hide. Now she's not just your lover or your friend, she's your accomplice. She becomes the secret you can't confess, the sin you can't wash off. And you'll keep her close, not out of love, but out of fear, out of shame, out of guilt that she helped create. True evil doesn't destroy the world. It convinces you to do it for her. Because when you act against your truth, when you step outside your soul to please her, to defend her, to follow her into moral gray, you are no longer whole. You become fractured, vulnerable, addicted to her presence like a drug that numbs the ache she caused in the first place. You'll begin to feel both powerful and empty, alive and haunted. And even if you escape her, you'll carry her inside you, not as a memory, but as a wound that thinks it's your identity. So ask yourself, what part of you does she love most? Your beauty? Your kindness? Or is it the part of you you've always feared? Because an evil woman doesn't just ruin your life, she rewrites your soul using ink drawn from your own hidden darkness. Evil doesn't always arrive with fangs. It can wear lipstick, quote poetry, and whisper love. If you saw pieces of someone in these signs, don't ignore them. Share your story, protect your spirit, and remember, not every beautiful soul is a kind one. Stay awake, stay guarded,